What is poppin', fight fans? And welcome back to the Mystic Hour, only here on the MMA Island. I am Darnell Giovanni, aka Mystic Black, and we are back. Me and the boy, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. 305 himself, Nick Marcus to my left.
Whoa, no. Oh my goodness. We're never gonna get that right.
I stuttered in between. What's up, Nick? What's going on, man? It's been 2 weeks. We haven't been on for a little bit, but we're back in effect. We're here.
Yeah, man, and just in time for not tonight. I wish it was tonight. This weekend's fight card. It's gonna be a doozy, especially after those last two fight cards. They were a bit of a it was okay.
Let's not even beat around the bush. Saturday night's card sucked. So we're not even going to dive deep into that one. Of course, we respect the fighters, but wasn't the most exciting cards. That's going to happen sometimes because, you know, every weekend the UFC gives us events. We're going to have one off, so where it's not the best event ever, but, you know, styles make matchups. But we got an excellent card coming up this Saturday, praying to the MMA gods that everything stays together. Gotta do it.
Hopefully
Gotta
so.
do it because you know, with COVID things and everything that's happening.
Oh, don't even say it. I'm tapping on wood right now.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully everybody's okay with it. There's not too many people on that card that has weight struggles or anything like that. So I'm not too worried. But let's get into it. Let's dive deep into this card on Saturday. Let me put that in up there. We got, starting at the top, for the light heavyweight championship, Israel Adesanya become a double champ with that fight against the man, the new champion, Polish power, Jan Błachowicz. That's going to be a real barn burner of a fight for sure. Israel Adesanya is moving up to the light heavyweight division. That is 205 pounds. He previously fought at 185 pounds, and we will talk about the weight thing very, very soon. We got the double champ, Amanda Nunez, who's a 135-pound champion, and the 145-pound champion, defending her featherweight strap against Meegan Anderson, a former Invicta champion. Then we got something that we've been waiting for a long time, since December. It's been canceled a couple of times, but it's happening. Peter Yan, new bantamweight champion, taking on Aljamain Sterling, who's been on a roll lately. And of course, on the main card, we got Habib Nurmagomedov's training partners, Islam Makhachev, taking on a guy who's on a roll as well, Drew Dober. That's going to be so good. We got maybe a title eliminator here against Alexander Rockage, taking on Thiago Santos, who's a guy who basically almost beat John Jones. Some people had him winning that fight, and that's probably the only fight in John Jones' career that he won. No, second fight he won by split decision, I think. Second or first, but either way, that doesn't happen too often. We got the former bantamweight champ Dominic Cruz taking on Casey Kenny, Sanya Dong, who, if you look at his record, he might have lost his last two fights, but he's on a winning streak, taking on Phillips. Yeah. We got Joseph Benavidez taking on Askar Askarov. We got Kai Kara France, who's the training partners of Israel Adesanya in a flyweight bout. That's going to open up the prelims. And then we got really good prelims there with Tim Elliott fighting on there. So many other fights, as you can see right there on your screen. But we are going to start in the flyweight division. Joseph Benavidez is back, baby. I know he had a little bit of a slip-up. Yeah, a little bit of a slip-up when he fought Davison Figueiredo. Lost that title fight. That was his second title fight of last year. He could have won the championship the first time. Davidson didn't make weight. There was a controversial headbutt. Lost pretty convincingly in November. What's it, November? I believe it was November. November or two. I'm not sure. I feel like it was, but there were so many cards last year. I don't even remember. But he lost that fight, but he's back now. Everybody thought he was going to retire. People thought he was done because he'd never get another flyweight title shot. But right here, he can get another one. It's possible. Nick, do you think if Joseph Benavidez wins this fight, he's still in contention for a title?
I mean, I think just his name, because of his name, he's always in contention for a title. But I mean, absolutely, of course. He's going. I mean, Brandon Moreno, we all know that he's going to get Davison Figueiredo next. So obviously, he's going to have to wait until then. But he's fighting the next guy up in Askar Askarov, right? So I mean, why wouldn't he get the title fight if he does indeed come out of this one? I mean, I think it's kind of crazy. This isn't the prelims, but I think this is actually going to be fight of the night, right? I love it when we get these matchups where, you know, two guys that are so close to each other in the rankings going against one another, especially, somebody like Askar, who's really good, but obviously Joseph Benavidez, he's a phenomenal fighter. And, who doesn't love a comeback story, right? I mean, it would be great to see him get that opportunity again, whether it be against, Davison or Brandon Moreno. We still have to wait to see how that plays out. But yeah, I think this is going to be a real barn burner. I think this is going to be, and it's not typically the most, how should I say this, the most anticipated weight class, right? When you think like, like this weight class, you don't think, like the heavyweights that you're going to just see these, these exciting fights. I think on the contrary, I think with the agility and speed that these guys have, it's going to just be, back and forth all night long.
And Joseph Benavidez is a guy that he only loses title fights, or to like the really big guys like your Demetrius Johnsons. He beat Henry Cejudo. He lost to Davison twice. He's lost to Dominic Cruz before, but these guys were all champions. Let me ask you this, Nick. Do you think UFC is taking a risk, taking a guy like Askar Askarov and putting him against Joseph Benavidez, who's known to be a contender killer, and he probably maybe won't get a title shot ever again?
I don't think it's too big of a risk. I mean, if he wins, I mean, first of all, anybody that wants a chance at a title fight, they have to go through Joseph Benavidez, right? And I don't think, and I don't think even if he loses, he'll necessarily lose that, right? Because let's say that he loses, right? Joseph Benavidez probably gets another title shot, but then who's going to be up in line after Benavidez gets that title shot, right? I think he'll remain high up there because I mean, it's Joseph Benavidez. It's a big name, so I think when you get losses against big names, it's almost like, you kind of put an asterisk next to it because it's not like, okay, you lost to a nobody, you lost to a big somebody. So I don't think it's too risky. It's risky for him, of course, because, you always have these up and comers that are going to, want to take the opportunities when they're given to them. But I don't know, man. Like I said, I think this is going to be a barn burner. I'm picking Joseph to win it, but nonetheless, I think it's going to be an exciting fight. And just because of the entertainment aspect of it, I think he's going to, not slip too far down the rankings if he doesn't get the result this weekend. Yeah,
and Askar has beaten the other flyweights that would stand in front of him anyways. He had a draw with Brandon Moreno. He's beaten the likes of, who did he beat right before this? Alexander Pantoja, who just beat Manel Cape. And these guys are all sitting there in that sandwich at the 1 through 4 spot. So he's going to have to fight Joseph Benavidez if he's not going to retire. And him beating Joseph Benavidez, you know what? That puts him up for title contention for sure. That'll be another contender for Davison Figueiredo. And now you don't have him having to wait until they fight in June. It's going to take a while for that fight to happen again. So you might as well fight somebody in the interim and have that big name on your list if you can defeat the likes of Joseph Benavidez. But we're going to give full predictions at the end, and I got something fun for us to do as well. We're gonna start taking we're gonna write these down, and we're gonna have a record. We're gonna put that together, man. And we're gonna have a record to see every week. We'll just put it together.
You had to pick this, man. Not so much for this fight, but you had to pick this week to start writing down the predictions because I got some upsets perhaps for this one. Some bold predictions, which now you kind of got me backtracking on them.
Listen, so I'll do this with you. If you get an upset correct, you get 2 points rather than 1. I will add it like you got 2, so it'll kind of give you an advantage there. So the upset point. Let's do that. The upset point.
All right.
Deal. But at the end of the show, we'll give our full predictions. We're gonna write them down, and then we'll tally it up every week and see where we stand every single week. And then maybe at the end of the year, we'll do some kind of, I don't know, prize, whatever. We'll figure it out. Something, but we'll figure it out. But to highlight the prelims, we got Dominic Cruz making his comeback from when he lost against the man, the GOAT, whatever you want to call him, Triple C, bah. Since he took that loss to Henry Cejudo, he's back against a guy who is just having the most exciting fights and had a really good 2020 in Casey Kenny. This is going to be a really good one. Is this a risky fight for Dominic Cruz to take? Because is it almost, do you feel like it's a lose-lose? Because Casey Kenny's not ranked above him, and it doesn't really add anything to Dominic Cruz's name.
Yeah, I think because of that, is you got a point. I think it is sort of a lose-lose, especially the fact that, you have to consider that there's a big hiatus in Dominic Cruz's career, especially having lost to Triple C. And then you got this guy, Casey Kenny, who's on I think he's on a 3-fight win streak, right?
Yeah, 3-fight win streak.
And 3-fight win streak, and all of which were in 2020, right?
Yep.
He fought 4 times actually in 2020.
4 times in 2020. He lost one to Merab.
He lost one.
I can't say his last name.
And then the fact that he's unranked, I think this is a must win for Dominic Cruz, especially if he wants to get his career going, flowing again after that long hiatus before his fight with Triple C, and then having lost to Triple C. So yeah, man, it's a real big risk for him.
Yeah, very risky, but I'm going to say at least it keeps Dominic Cruz active. I'm almost tired of Dominic Cruz just waiting too long for a title shot every single time. Listen, we understand you're one of the best bantamweights of all time, but it doesn't require you that you get a title shot every single time you come back. Now beat one of these contenders, beat one of these up and coming guys like a Casey Kenny, who in this case, he's got nothing to lose and everything to gain by beating a legend in Dominic Cruz. This will propel him so much. Does it give him a title shot? No, but it's going to put him in the talks because not too many people have beaten Dominic Cruz. Only Cody Garbrandt, Henry Cejudo, and Uriah Faber, which was a long time ago. But not too many guys have beaten the likes of Dominic Cruz. So risky fight for Cruz, big win for Casey Kenny, but I'd like to see Dominic Cruz just stay active. And if he wins this fight, hopefully injury-free, see him fight again. And if he wants to go up to get to that title, he'll have a nice route for it. And I'd love to see him against Peter Yan. I'd love to see him against Aljamain. I'd love to see him against Frankie Edgar. I know Frankie Edgar took a really bad loss, but I'd still love to see Dominic Cruz versus Frankie Edgar. I feel like that's a dream fight for a lot of people, but this is definitely going to be a big one on this card. And I don't think there's any issue with Dominic Cruz. This has been a big thing. Oh my God, Dominic Cruz on a prelim. What the hell? What's wrong with the UFC? How can you put Dominic Cruz on a prelim? Listen, he's making the same money he would make on a main card and the prelims. Now he's going to get more eyes, especially to more recent MMA fans, that, hey, this is Dominic Cruz. This guy is a legend. Now you get to watch him for free. Is that not a bad marketing thing for the UFC?
No, not only that, but Benavidez is on the prelims card too. So you have 2 massive names on this card that, for people that are just getting into it, or even people that are really big fans like us, are going to be tuning in early, right? Rather than just waiting for the main card to happen. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I think it's great business. And we all know that UFC knows how to do business. If anything, that's their forte. We might not like the practice that they might apply from time to time, but nonetheless, they're really good at coming up with ways of bringing in viewers and making money. So, kudos to them. But going back to Casey Kenny, I mean, he has everything to gain from this fight. I mean, from being unranked to perhaps coming off a 3-fight win streak, perhaps beating one of the greatest in that division. It'll probably propel him in the top 10 even. Right, because I mean, Dominic Cruz is in is 11th, I believe, right, and that's a pretty stacked division too. I mean, there's some big names on there. We're gonna see what happens. Yeah, exactly. We're gonna see what happens now with we have a title fight in this weight class, obviously on this card, and we have to see what happens with Corey Sandhagen. Especially after that win against Frankie Edgar. I mean, there's so many possibilities for him, but great possibilities nonetheless. And even if he does lose, I don't think it's going to affect his career so much. Like I said with Joseph Benavidez and Askar Askarov. If Askarov loses, you lose against a big name, and it's not that big of a deal. It's like kudos to you for hanging in there.
It's a win-win for sure for Casey Kenny. But here, let me ask you this question: Dominic Cruz gets into this fight. He got rocked pretty bad by Henry Cejudo, and when these things happen to these older guys, it starts to get, the wear and tear happens. Frankie Edgar went to a guy who was surviving a lot, didn't get knocked out. And then all of a sudden now he's getting knocked out pretty bad, as these guys have collected a lot of miles. Dominic Cruz loses to a guy like Casey Kenny. He's a very smart guy. He's a guy that likes to think about his career in a very intelligent way. You think he'd walk away from the sport and just finish his career off with the broadcasting? Because he does a pretty good job at that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love him in broadcasting. I think that he has a nice something nice to fall back on in case this doesn't go, well. I think he'd like to continue fighting even if he loses this fight. I mean, granted, it all depends on how he loses. Like, let's say he loses by decision, I'm sure he would want to keep on going. But if he gets, hit really heavy, then maybe it's like, you know what, I'm going to Tony Romo this thing. I'm not going to get paid to get hit, but rather paid to talk. And I think it's going to be an excellent career for him too, because he does do a great job.
Yeah, he definitely has that career path ahead of him if he wants to take that. Him, John Anik, and him and DC have the best chemistry. Sometimes they argue.
They're so great, man. It's so harmonious. It's fantastic when those two work together.
And Darren Cormier has talked before of just like having little arguments with him, like in between the breaks, of just like, I didn't mean it that way. That's not what I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to disrespect the fighters. You know, it's a cool thing.
It's almost like a Shaq and Chuck on TNT.
That's literally that.
So great.
Perfect comparison. That's exactly what it is. Two guys who either fought or are fighting now, just literally going at it and having that conversation during the broadcast. It's always great to hear the little tidbits, and I love when they put them on together. I don't think they should ever stop that.
So great.
So great. But to start off, the main card. Woo! This main card is stacked. Talked about it before I announced all the fighters. Man, we got some heavy hitters in the light heavyweight division kicking off this card. Thiago Santos taking on Alexander Rockage. Lord. First of all, let me say something. Alexander Rockage is one big motherfucker. My Lord. Try not to swear that much, but I gotta say that. He is 6'5".
The Serbian Rocket.
Yes, he is 6'5". Somehow weighs it at 205 pounds, and he has some muscles on him. He's not like you're skinnier like John Jones. John Jones is 6'4", but skinnier guy, skinnier built. But Rockage is a big guy. He can probably be fighting at heavyweight at some point if he wants.
Yeah.
Thiago Santos is not a small guy himself, but somehow this guy used to make 185, probably killing himself to make that weight. But this is a good one in a light heavyweight division. Nick, do you think this person, whoever wins this fight, are they guaranteed a title shot? Or do they have to probably fight the winner of Yuri Prochazka and Dominic Cruz, which comes up next month?
I mean, I don't think winner gets title fight automatically, because I mean we still got that fight. We still got to see what happens with Glover Teixeira. I mean, he's the number 1 contender in that division too. So I don't think it's necessarily an automatic title fight, but I mean it's definitely going to be somebody. You know, it's definitely going to attract a lot of attention their way. I mean, Thiago Santos already had that chance, right, where he fought John Jones with basically no legs for 5 rounds that he lasted. That was insane. And then his last fight, he I don't know how he did it, but he'll forever have my respect. I couldn't believe watching that fight. I'm like, man, how is this? I thought Kobe which rest in peace, Kobe, but I thought Kobe was tough coming back, you know, to do some free throws with a torn ACL. I can't imagine like how this guy, I thought that was tough. This guy literally went, I think 2 to 3 rounds with literally a torn MCL, torn ACL, torn everything.
All 5. He did it in the first round.
Was it all 5? Was it that early that he tore all that shit up?
Yes.
Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, this guy's a beast, man. He really is. So, I mean, and then he also, well, actually, now that I think about it, he lost to Glover Teixeira last time he was out, which is probably why Glover's number 1 right now.
Yep.
And
we're forgetting about Glover. Oh my God, I forgot about to mention Glover. He's actually the backup for the main event.
Also, he is. He's officially the backup. I mean, that'd be great because I mean, Glover's not getting any younger. So I mean, I hope none of these guys drop. I hope nobody drops out on this card because this is the best card. This is probably the most stacked card of the year so far. But I mean, Rockage, man, like you said, he's a big guy. And you know what? I know that a lot of people aren't necessarily impressed with him, but he's impressed me. I mean, I know he fought last one against Lionheart Smith, which he's kind of been on a kind of a slide recently, but nonetheless, you know, he's impressive, man, and he's big, he's massive. Like you said, he could probably fight in the heavyweight division, and not only that, but he's just full of energy, full of life, and that those kind of guys are the type of guys that I feel like are going to excel. And not only that, but I feel like this division kind of needs that.
Yeah, definitely needs that. And I feel bad. I forgot about Glover. He's definitely up there. But I feel that the winner of this fight is going to be the person that faces Glover for the interim championship. Because I feel that, I'm kind of giving a prediction there if I'm saying that. So let me give you the different scenarios. If Israel Adesanya wins that fight, he's not going to fight at 205 again unless it's John Jones. He's not going to fight any one of the other guys just for kicks and giggles. No, that's not exciting for him. And I feel like he has a lot of other cards he wants to deal with before he does with the 205 division. If Israel Adesanya wins that, we're going to see an interim title fight between the winner of this fight and Glover Teixeira sometime in the summer. Unless somebody has a really, really big, impressive performance, which this would be the best card to do that because this is an Adesanya card. We can talk about him like that because he does sell a good amount of pay-per-views when he's fighting on a card. He's
definitely got that McGregor effect. People tune in to see Adesanya.
People tune in to watch him. He's got the whole country, Nigeria. I'm sure Africa is watching him as well. He's got the whole New Zealand watching him. He's got a lot of people watching him. So I feel if anybody wants to make an impression, they gotta do it here. But the hardest part for Thiago Santos, I feel, in this fight is going to be the grappling. Rockage can grapple as well. As you can see what he did with Smith, he can win in different ways. Thiago Santos has struggled so much with the grappling effect. You saw that with Glover. Glover took him down with ease, and Glover Teixeira is probably the smaller guy, older guy, and he handled him on the ground like it was nothing. Every single time he took him down, he was mounting him. He literally mounted him every single time he took him down. So I feel like Santos is going to have some issues there, but this fight right here, they have to make an impact if they want to surpass Yuri Prochazka and Dominic Cruz, one of those guys. If they want to pass him and go straight to a title shot, this right here is where you impress everybody. So that's going to be very important for them.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think it's going to be. I kind of don't have very high hopes for this fight as far as how entertaining it will be, because I think that if there is a finish to this fight, I don't see this fight lasting all 3 rounds. I see it getting finished early on. So, I mean, like you said, if you're going to make an impression, now's the time to do it. All eyes are on you.
All eyes are on you. And speaking of eyes on somebody, my lord, the eyes are on Islam Makhachev. Big time. Long time coming. He doesn't fight as often as we'd love to see because he's dealt with injuries. He's dealt with visa issues, a lot of other things that just happened to him in his past. But this is a guy that everybody is watching, especially with one of his training partners and Khabib, the Eagle Nurmagomedov, retiring this past year. And I'm going to say retiring because he retired. Dana White, he's retired. Accept it. That
everybody needs to accept that. Everybody needs to accept that. Put it to bed. Is he's gone. He doesn't have anything further to prove. He doesn't want to prove anything. It doesn't matter. I mean, just put it to bed, man. Honestly,
he's taking on a guy who is 6-1 in his past 7 against Drew Dober, who's a guy who has found this newfound confidence in his fighting, in his style, that is just amazing to see. This is probably going to be the fight of the night, I feel. Of the card, period, because these guys are so good. One thing that Drew Dober said which is very interesting. Drew Dober trains with Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje fought Khabib Nurmagomedov. So this is kind of like people are saying, this is Justin Gaethje 2 versus Khabib 2. No, these are 2 different kinds of fighters. Drew Dober does not fight like Justin Gaethje, and Islam Makhachev does not fight like Khabib. If they fought like each other, you wouldn't notice them as much. So I don't agree with that, with some people that are saying that. I think this is a separate matchup. But one thing that Drew Dober said is that with these Dagestanian guys, you have to wrestle them. You can't be afraid of the wrestler. And hearing him said that was very interesting to see. Do you think Drew Dober can wrestle with Islam Makhachev? Or do you think he will? Or do you think he's just saying that?
I mean, I think it's one of those things where you can't show fear, right? I mean, a lot of people look at Islam like as the heir apparent to Khabib's, right? To Khabib's legacy. So I think you have to show that confidence in knowing that, like, look, this is their specialty, but I'm not afraid to get in there with them. I know how to do it too, kind of thing like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, nobody really wants to fight. I mean, or necessarily want to wrestle against a Dagestani fighter, like that. They're the best to do it, right? And then, like I've said it before, I know that these guys train hard, and I'm a proud American. You guys see me on the other episodes with my American flag behind me. But, sometimes when I look at American fighters compared to international fighters, especially fighters from Dagestan, like it's nature versus nurture, right? I mean, these guys come up from a way different background, more difficult backgrounds. And not only that, but it's just, it's why they excel so much, right? So I think it's good on him to show that courage, but I don't think he necessarily wants to get into a wrestling match with Islam.
So interesting thing is why Drew Dober said that is when Islam Makhachev went against Armin Takshurian, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. He was wrestling with him. Armin was wrestling right back with him, and it was very intriguing to see because he wasn't afraid of it. He was not afraid of it. So I think that's a good mindset to take into that fight. I agree with you when you say American wrestling and Dagestani wrestling. That's two different things. It's completely two different things. Habib has proved that throughout his whole career to show you the difference between those kinds of wrestling, because I feel wrestling is just looking for double legs all the time and just like getting you on the ground, and the ground and pound stuff. Of course, the Dagestanians do that too, but they just smother you. That smothering style is just so tough to deal with. And it's gonna be a very interesting fight to see where Islam stands in that weight class. Can he be a top 5 guy? Can he get up there in that weight class? We don't know, and I feel like this fight is gonna tell us a lot. Do you think Islam wins this fight and he gets that fight that he was originally supposed to have against Rafael dos Anjos? I feel like we talk about him a lot, but we have to.
I mean, RDA is kind of the gatekeeper we talked about, right? And if he does get this fight, I think that he could sort of command, especially having a training partner like Habib that has so much influence, right? And who knows, maybe Habib teases even more with his whole, I might come back, but give my guy, opportunity against, gatekeeper, kind of thing. It's possible that it happens. I think it's very likely. Like I said, a lot of people have a lot of eyes on him, not just because of his training partner, but because he's a great fighter. I mean, granted, he didn't fight all of last year, but I think this weekend is going to be a fresh reminder for everybody of who he is and what he brings.
And don't forget, guys, Drew Dober is not just decisioning these guys. He's knocking them out. His last 3 fights have been KOs against Nursat. Yeah, all been KOs. Alexander Hernandez, Nursat Hardcross. Like, those guys are not guys who are getting finished on a regular basis. And Drew Dober is finishing them. And he said something really important, that he is no longer just going there trying to find a finish. He's just having fun. He is having fun out there. And he went back to his Muay Thai days. He's like, why was I killing people back in those days? And now I'm in this octagon and getting killed and losing all these fights because I'm not having fun anymore. So when I see those guys kind of change their mindsets, it makes me very excited to see what they're going to do in that octagon. And him versus Islam is definitely the fight to look forward to the most on this card, I feel, because these guys are going to give it their all. I don't see a finish happening here, but I see a really, really good fight.
Yeah, I can see a back and forth here. I think that and that's what makes Drew Dober so great, right? He's adaptive. He's able to adjust, and he takes every opponent differently. And like you said, he's not going for that, It's like baseball, right? You could swing for the fences all the time, but most likely you're going to strike out, right? So get the things that aren't as sexy, right? Get the doubles, get the triples, or whatever you want. In this case, obviously metaphorically speaking, yeah. But I think that I don't think it's going to be just a walk in the park for Islam. I think that this is, like you said, a fight that's going to go to decision.
And speaking of no walks in the park, oof, my God, we got 3 title fights in this top of this card. 3, not 1, not 2. But 3. This has happened maybe 3 or 4 times in UFC history that they give you this many title fights. Thank God, because I don't feel like we got enough last year because a lot of things got canceled. Some champions couldn't fight, too many interim title fights. There's no interim title fights here. These are all real champions. Nope. We got a double champion on here. We got somebody who can become a double champ right here. We got an undefeated fighter at the top of the build. We got another guy coming up in the ranks, and he's been trying to get this title shot for a long time. And I'm talking about Aljamain Sterling against Peter Yan. My Lord, we've been waiting for this one for a long time in the bantamweight division. That is 135 pounds. Nick, is this the Aljamain championship party event, or is Peter Yan gonna put it down on him? But no, before I ask you that question, I feel like I'm asking you for a prediction there. No, that's not what I wanted to ask. What I want to ask is, has Peter Yan ever faced somebody as tough as Aljamain Sterling?
No, absolutely not. And as a matter of fact, Aljamain should have gotten the title shot when they gave it to Jose Aldo. Now, all due respect to Jose Aldo when they gave it, I mean, I know there's name recognition, and I know that he's and I'm not going to say he wasn't deserving of it, but I just feel that Aljamain was definitely more deserving of it, especially the way that he took down. I mean, we all saw what Sandhagen did in his last 2 fights, right? Against Marlon Moraes and against Frankie Edgar. And yet Aljamain put him to sleep in the first round. Yeah. So, I mean, this is an exceptional talent that we have to look forward to, and that I feel like he's going to stick around for a long time, and I'm excited about it. And I think it's going to be a rude awakening for Peter Yan as far as, compared to some of the talent that he's faced before. Not to say that Peter Yan is washed or that he's lucky or anything, because I feel that a lot of people don't give him the respect or the credit that he deserves. But I mean, this is going to be the most difficult fight he's ever had.
They keep bringing up this narrative of Magomedov that is the only guy that Peter Yan has lost to, and that's the style that Aljamain Sterling has, and that's what's going to be Peter Yan. I'm not buying that narrative. Peter Yan is a way different fighter than he is now. He's very different. He definitely can defend a takedown, but against Aljamain Sterling, it's going to be tough. And people are forgetting Aljamain Sterling has gotten better in other ways as well. Striking wise, he was standing with Pedro Munoz pretty much the whole entire fight. He has that in him. He changed it up. Jimmy Rivera, he stood up with Jimmy Rivera. He can do these things. And I think the most dangerous part for Peter Yan here is going to be that first round when they're dry. That first, Peter Yan better put on a sweat before he gets out there.
Yeah, he better.
As sweaty as possible, because
he's got to get that spray on Crisco before he goes into the ring.
When the wrestlers use the body oil just to come out and look all good,
exactly.
He better put some of that on him, because the beginning of that fight is going to be the toughest moment. I think if Peter Yan can get past that first 2 rounds dealing with the grappling, he definitely can go on and have a really good fight, because he gets better as the rounds go. We saw that against Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo's a very tough guy. I don't care what anybody says. Always on the downside of his career. No, Jose Aldo is still beating really good contenders. He beat Marlon Vera the other month, and Marlon Vera is no walk in the park at all. Sugar Sean O'Malley, you can see that, but he's no walk in the park. So I don't see Peter Yan, like, he did have some tough guys, but I don't think he's ever fought somebody as tough as Aljamain Sterling. So that's going to be interesting to see. But let me ask you this, Nick: whoever wins this fight, are they calling out TJ Dillashaw? Is that happening? Former champion TJ Dillashaw?
Maybe. There's a lot of guys that can.
You win this fight. Who are you calling?
I mean, if it all depends, because I don't want to give up my pick here, but I think Peter Yan is going to be like the type of
both sides. If Peter were to win,
right? I think Peter Yan wins. Like I think it's kind of like, hey, bring whoever's next. I don't care who comes next. I'm just going to continue to defend this title and show I belong here. Where I think if Aljamain wins, I think I'd love to see him run it back against Corey Sandhagen. I think that, yes, obviously he dominated him in that first fight, but I think that Corey Sandhagen is deserving of a title shot, especially with his last two results and winning them convincingly. So I'd like to see them run it back. And even if it's Peter Yan, like I said, maybe he doesn't care who comes in, but I think that maybe it's because I'm wanting for Corey Sandhagen to get that opportunity so much that I'm kind of hoping that they don't call out somebody specific unless it's his name, because I feel like he is deserving of that title shot for whoever against whoever wins this next or this title bout.
If I'm Aljamain and I win this fight, I'm not calling out Corey. Absolutely not, because I already beat him. And I beat him pretty fast. So why do I got to fight him again immediately after? I'm not calling him out. I'm calling out TJ Dillashaw. I'm calling out the former champ. I'm calling out the guy that was on PEDs, that used what is it called? The same thing that Lance Armstrong used. I forget the specific name of it. That helps you with red blood cells. But doping, yeah. But there's a specific thing that he used that was like pretty bad. But anyways, I'm calling him out. I'm gonna try to beat him, and I'm gonna try to take his name from him, because you have that name of TJ Dillashaw on your record. It looks good. It looks so good. You can do it for the bantamweights that hated that he did that. Do it for Cody. Do it for everybody on that list. Why not? I'm calling out TJ, or maybe I'm calling out Cody Garbrandt. Beat a guy that you never beat before, and that's gonna give you a big title fight. We're in the entertainment side of the game now. It's not.
How's Cody doing, by the way, with his progress?
He's progressing, but nothing is official yet, but he's been training. So he's definitely trying to get back in there, and he's getting all his wits back, the bicep. He had a lot of things going on with him, but I think he's getting back there. I'm pretty sure he's going to fight Jose Aldo, but whoever wins this fight, they've got a lot of time before they fight somebody else in the summertime. But if I'm Peter Yan, I think I'm doing the same thing. I'm calling out TJ Dillashaw. Just give me TJ Dillashaw, because he just has the name, and you just want to beat. That's a guy you just want to fight, and I feel like it's a better fight for him. If Peter Yan does win, I think the UFC would do Corey versus Peter Yan for sure, and that'd be a who doesn't want to watch that, because we know Corey can stand up, and Peter Yan is not one to take anybody down, so that should be very interesting.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, we'll see what happens, but it's all excellent points, especially Aljamain. That's somebody that I feel maybe it's because it's a language barrier thing, but I feel that Aljamain is definitely that, like, you know, peacocking type. Yeah. He's there with his thick chain and everything like that. So he definitely would be more so the fighter to come out and call somebody out like TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah, he got the charisma. I would love to see it. But we got one of the more lopsided fights on this card, if you want to call it that. But the odds are showing, my lord,
odds are super lopsided. And you know what? I don't care. You know what? I'm gonna have to side with you. I don't know if you guys tuned in for yesterday's episode, the first episode of Brothers in Combat with Darnell and Serge Vicente of the Fight Podcast. But I'm with you, man. I'm put at least a $5 on these odds, because I mean, hey, punch your chance, man. Punch your chance. It's kind of crazy, right? When I saw those odds, I was like, excuse me?
Woo! Jesus Christ! Like, no respect for Meegan at all. If you guys didn't hear it on the Brothers of Combat, I said, if you got $5, drop it on Meegan Anderson. This is MMA. One strike can end the whole entire night, and Meegan Anderson does not hit very lightly. I think she hits pretty hard.
No, she doesn't.
Very big.
Ask her last opponent how that went.
Exactly. I'm not saying Meegan Anderson has fought the competition that Amanda Nunez has fought. No, she hasn't. Does Meegan Anderson have a grappling issue? Yes, she does. There's a lot of advantages that Amanda Nunez has over Meegan Anderson. But at the same time, these are risky fights for Amanda to take, because Meegan's got nothing to lose. Nothing to lose here in this fight. Those are the most dangerous people that you can fight in any sport. What was that?
Plus 700 right now.
Oh, the odds.
Those are the odds. Sorry, you probably couldn't see it clear, but plus 700. That's nuts.
Plus 700. What's the math of that? I forget. I suck at math, but
so basically, you have to put in $100 to win $700.
So win $700.
So I'm just saying. I mean, we're down here in South Florida. Going out is expensive, right? You probably spend $100 on just getting some drinks, right?
Literally.
Why not? If you're gonna just piss away $100, this is probably your opportunity. I know it's not likely. Obviously, the odds say it's not. But fuck, man, like you get these puncher chances, and who knows, man? I mean, Amanda Nunez hasn't. I mean, she's won her last 2 fights, right? Yeah. But I mean, they both gone to decision, right? That's not typical of an Amanda Nunez fight. So typical. I don't know if that's Amanda Nunez just being nice and not trying to embarrass these, Felicia Spencer and I feel like she could have finished
Felicia. She was being nice. Yeah, Felicia Spencer.
I think she was being nice. Yeah.
And Jermaine Durandamy was a fight before that. That was at 135. Yeah. But it's definitely worthwhile. Why not do it? Meegan Anderson, as I said yesterday, is a very big girl. She is an actual featherweight. That is a big
6
girl.
feet.
I know people said Cyborg is a big girl as well, but she is not tall and long like Meegan is. Meegan can fight her from a distance, and it could be very interesting to see. But Nick, we can talk forever about Amanda Nunez, and if you guys have never watched Amanda Nunez, she is one of the best of all time. People say one of the best female fighters. No, she's one of the best fighters of all time. There's no just specific. Yes, she's the best woman fighter of all time, but one of the best fighters of all time. If you watched all her fights, she's beaten Ronda Rousey. She's beaten Miesha Tate. She's beaten Chris Cyborg. She's beaten Valentina Shevchenko twice. I know people are saying that's debatable, but she beat her twice. It's on the record. A lot of people she's gone through. But Nick, what can Meegan do to beat Amanda Nunez? That's clear as day as that. What can she do?
Use her length, I guess. Use her length and what's going to be a smaller ring. Try to, nobody really wants to go forth against Amanda Nunez. Nobody wants to step into that. But I mean, you have that advantage. And like you said, you got nothing to lose. Literally, the fact that she has nothing to lose, anybody that's fighting against Amanda Nunez, you have nothing to lose, right? Because nobody's expecting you to win, obviously. So just go in there, use that height advantage, and and take advantage of that hiatus that Amanda Nunes has had. I mean, it's not a great hiatus or anything like that, but maybe perhaps take advantage that her heads. I don't know if she's probably more motivated because obviously that's what makes her the GOAT of this, right? But she just recently had a kid and everything like that, and who knows? Maybe she's sort of like thinking in the back of her mind, I've already beaten everybody. I just started a family. Maybe it's time for me to sort of like kick it back. I don't know. Maybe I don't think that she's going to be thinking that, but probably go with that. I'm just looking for whatever reason to beat Amanda Nunes because I think it's pretty clear that nobody thinks that she's going to beat Amanda Nunes.
This is one of those fights, guys. One of those fights that Amanda Nunes is probably just going to win. I can't against prediction. Amanda Nunes is just too good.
She's passing of the torch. Not going to happen here.
Yeah, passing of the torch is probably not going to happen here. Kudos to Meegan for taking a fight like this. She hasn't had too many fights in the UFC featherweight division. She had almost some good success against Holly Holm, but kept getting taken down. The grappling wasn't there. It's going to be very difficult. We'll see what happens, but the likely is to happen. Just had to throw that out there. But let's get to the main event. Let's get to
before we get to the main event, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Does Amanda keep going at this if she wins?
Does Amanda keep going at this if she wins? The only thing that's left there for her is a trilogy with Valentina Shevchenko. Besides that, who else is she going to fight? The featherweight division basically doesn't exist in the UFC. I don't know why they keep pushing that. And then in bantamweight, who hasn't she beaten yet? Who is coming up besides Juliana Pena? Would probably be the only person that'd be interesting. But Juliana Pena has to get through Holly Holm. We'll see what happens there. But if I'm Amanda Nunes, the only reason why I wanted to keep going is for money, because that girl deserves a lot of money that she is not getting, which I feel she should be making millions in the UFC, and she's not making that kind of money. She always goes to Dana, show me the money, more money. She doesn't get that money. I'm retiring. I'm chilling. She can coach. She has her daughter. She's got her wife. Nina still fights. If I'm Amanda Nunes and I win this fight, I wait to see what happens with Holly Holm and Juliana Pena. If it's Holly Holm again, nah. There's no point. There's no point.
No.
But yes, I don't think so either. Let's get to that title fight, that main event of the evening. John Błachowicz, Polish Power over there, taking on this last style bender, Israel Adesanya, out of Nigeria and New Zealand. My Lord, this is going to be really, really good. Israel Adesanya, of course, is a 185-pound champion. That is middleweight. Jan won that title against Dominic Reyes, 205. People didn't think he was going to win, and he did it. He went in there and put on probably one of the best performances of his life. Something interesting that developed yesterday. Israel Adesanya said he's probably going to come into this fight at 195. The last time somebody came in that light in a title fight was BJ Penn against Matt Hughes, and BJ Penn won that fight. I believe he came in at 165 pounds, and it was a welterweight fight, which was 170. I think he might have came in at 163. Nick, is this going to provide an advantage for Jan or an advantage for Israel?
I mean, Jan is a slow fighter. And we all know that probably the fastest or the most agile fighter there is Adesanya, which is, what makes him so great. So, but at the same time, like I mentioned in the last fight, or in the last card we talked about, or the last fight, is that this is going to be a smaller ring, right? So he's not going to be able to prance around like he usually does, or kick back defensively like he does. I mean, I think that a lot of this fight is going to be taken part in the middle of the ring. So I don't know if necessarily coming in lighter is going to help him, especially when you need that extra power behind your punch to bring down a guy like Jan Błachowicz.
I think that it's just his body reacting to him being in a fight week. His body is just used to cutting down to 185 and knows like, oh, this is going to be the weight cut week. He's probably just going to weigh into whatever he walks in at. I always thought that Israel Adesanya could make welterweight if he wanted to make welterweight. Habib walks around at like 190, and he fights at something ridiculous. Pounds. It's ridiculous. He probably can make welterweight if he really wanted to. Wouldn't be the smartest thing because you don't want to damage your body. But I know people say a lot of things with the power, but I'm going to disagree, and I feel the accuracy is going to be more important here. And the accuracy probably gives him those shots that he gets in his previous fights. So I think it's probably going to help him, and it's going to help him with the speed. Especially with the speed as well. That's going to be very important, especially against a guy like Jan, who's a slower guy. He's definitely a slower guy. But at the same time, got to look at it in the aspect of Jan being so big, he's probably going to walk in there like 220, 225. If he wants to take Israel Adesanya down, he maybe possibly can do it. And imagine
just
that
lay
big,
there.
yeah, that big heavy body just laying on top of you. But let me ask you this, Nick. Israel Adesanya wins this fight. Is he going up to heavyweight to go find John Jones, or is he going back to 185 to keep defending his title?
I think if there's anybody that motivates him to do so, it is John Jones. But I don't know, man. I kind of, like you mentioned it before. Why, I think he wins. If he wins this one, right? He just goes back to what he's doing and continue dominating there. I mean, he's such a dominant fighter, and if anything, like he already brings the viewers, right? So imagine if he gets somebody like a John Jones, right? I mean, talk about a big payday, right? So I don't know. I can't even answer that for you because I feel like he's so unpredictable, and on top of that, he's so unpredictable. I feel that he could beat anybody, like absolutely anybody. I don't think it matters whether he fights John Jones next. I don't think it matters if who he fights next. It's just this is probably the most dominant fighter, right? In probably the best pound for pound fighter in the UFC right now. If you want to say even when Habib was there or John Jones, whatever. I think that he's honestly a Swiss Army knife. He can come at you with whatever, and he's just the best at the moment. So why not go for John Jones?
I think John Jones is jonesing us, and he is playing games with our emotions and keep putting out these videos of him lifting all these heavy weights. He did the same thing when he was about to come back to fight Anthony Johnson, but he ended up fighting OSP instead. And he was a bigger guy. It wasn't the smartest thing for him to do, but I think he's jonesing us. And as soon as if Israel Adesanya ends up winning that fight, John Jones will come back down to fight him at 205 because he knows that is a bigger fight for him. That is the biggest fight for him. And I don't know how much he wants to fight those heavyweight guys. Those guys are huge, man. Francis Ngannou is not a small guy. Francis Ngannou hits very hard. That's a lot of scary action. So I think if Israel Adesanya wins this fight, he's definitely the John Jones fight is on the horizon. Somewhere in a stadium, probably in New Zealand, because New Zealand is definitely doing better than America with this whole COVID thing. So probably over there, John Jones fights him and is the ultimate heel in New Zealand, getting booed like crazy in that fight. And we get to see that sometime, maybe later this year, maybe next year. Don't know, but that's going to be very exciting. But we cannot count Jan out in this fight. I know we don't speak about him enough, but this guy has been making strides in his past couple fights. He deserved that title shot. He knocked out a couple guys to get to where he is. But if Jan beats Israel Adesanya, does that cement his legacy in the UFC, beating the guy who's undefeated and is a champion in another weight class? Or are they going to look at him just like, oh, he was the bigger guy, that's why he won?
No, I think it definitely solidifies his legacy. I mean, you beat somebody undefeated like Israel Adesanya. Like, I mean, I just went off on a tangent talking about he's the greatest right now, right? It doesn't matter that he moved up to this division. He is the best fighter pound for pound in this promotion and in the world. So if you beat somebody like that, somebody that nobody's ever beaten, I think it does solidify his legacy, right? And who knows, maybe he sticks around and he walks away from it afterwards. Because I mean, Błachowicz is I can't remember if he's do you remember what his age is?
Błachowicz, I think he's 37.
He's 37. Yeah, so he's pretty up there, you know, like he's pretty up there. So like he can't stick around if he wins, but I mean, in that weight division, it's not that entertaining anyways. I mean,
38.
He's 38. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't think people should I definitely don't think that people should knock Jan Błachowicz if he somehow comes out and beats the greatest fighter right now on the planet, Israel Adesanya. Yeah. I mean, I think that doesn't make him automatically the best fighter, but I mean, it definitely should solidify his legacy in this sport.
So we got to do it. It is that time. It is that time to give these picks, and we are going
to write these down.
We got to write these down because this is getting serious here for these picks. So we're going to do UFC 259 prediction, guys, and we're going to write them down, and we're going to be doing this every week and just putting them together. I'm gonna put Nick's record next to his name. I'll put my record next to my name.
I'll type
Whatever.
yours right now.
I might come in next week. I might be 0-6. I don't know. We'll see. But it's gonna be very interesting. But I'm ready for it. I'm down. Let's do it. So let's start with Joseph Benavidez against Askar Ansarov. Who are you taking?
I'm gonna go with Joe on this one. I think Joe is emotionally in a place where he accepted what happened in his last two fights against Davis and Figueiredo, and I think that he's ready mentally and physically prepared to get into this and get back on that title contention card and get that opportunity again.
I'm going to go with Joseph Benavidez. I feel that he doesn't struggle with wrestlers. Askar Ansarov is a guy who's big on wrestling. Joseph has not struggled with that in his career. I think Benavidez takes this one by decision. I'm going to go with Benavidez.
Okay.
Let's go to Dominic Cruz against Casey Kenny. Who you got?
I think I got some upsets on this card, so I think I'm going to go with Casey Kenny, man. I honestly think that he's going to keep it. I think he's going to keep it rolling. I think he's going to take advantage of this opportunity and really use it to propel his name and the opportunities that are going to come forth. So I got to go with Casey Kenny. As sacrilegious as that sounds. I
am going to roll not with you, and I'm going to take Dominic Cruz. I think it's too hard of a styles matchup for Casey Kenny. He's not prepared for this just yet. And he made a joke about my girl, Meegan Anderson. I don't like that at all. So, Casey Kenny, I will not be rooting for you.
Oh, wait a second. I just realized that was him?
That was him. That was
What a piece of shit, that guy. I'm still picking him, but he's a piece of shit.
All right. Let's go into the light heavyweight division.
Fucking clown.
Thiago Santos and Alexander Rockage. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the Serbian Rocket.
You're going to go with Rockage? I am going to play it smart, and I'm going to go with Alexander Rockage. I think he's just too good everywhere for Thiago Santos. Too big of a guy. I say Alexander Rockage, body shot. Second round, TKO. I'm going to go Rockage as well. All right.
Good pick.
Islam Makhachev against Drew Dober. Who you got? This is a hard pick right here. Or is it? Or is it?
It is a hard pick. It is a hard pick because this is one of the ones that I had to look at and be like, I don't know, maybe it could be this one, it could be that one, but I'm gonna go with Islam. It's just kind of hard to go against these Dagestani fighters. I think he gets it done here. Not in an easy fashion, like I said. I think it goes to decision, but I gotta rock with him.
I am loving the confidence that Drew Dober has, and I feel that Islam Makhachev is a little funny with his head movement when he goes for certain takedowns, and I think Drew Dober could submit him if he wants, and he's gonna wrestle him. It's gonna be a barn burner. I got Drew Dober winning by split decision.
Ooh, okay.
By split decision, I'm gonna go with Dober.
All
right, we got Aljamain Sterling against Peter Yan. This is a hard one to pick. This is a very hard one to pick. Who you got?
I don't think it's that hard. I'm going with Sterling.
Oh.
I think Sterling comes out guns blazing like he did against Corey. I see Peter Yan, and like I said, I give him all due respect. I think he did deserve the title fight, but the way that he struggled against an aging Josie Aldo. Yeah. You know, that he lasted, that Josie was able to last all 5 rounds with him. I don't see that happening with Aljamain. Aljamain is going to come. He's going to eat him up while he's dry. Like you said, he better oil himself up like some WWE wrestler, or maybe get some WD-40 on his body before he steps in that ring, because Aljamain is going to make his life a living hell.
I'm going to ride with the fuck master himself. I think he's going to go in there and out-grapple Peter Yan. He's going to make Peter Yan look like he's never fought somebody in that top of that division before. I think he submits him. I think he finishes Peter Yan very early, too. That first round is going to be very difficult. I think Aljamain Sterling submission. First round. Woo! First round. And that's not a hot take. That's just real.
No.
That's real talk. That is real talk in the words of my man, Burt Watson. And let's get to this one. Meegan Anderson against Amanda Nunez. Who you got?
You know what's funny about this one is that I don't even know if I want to count this as my official pick, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Because I think, I mean, it's really easy to side with Amanda Nunez, and I think that she will possibly win. But best believe I'm putting at least a fiver on those odds on Meegan Anderson. So I'm going to be happy either way. If Amanda Nunes wins, congratulations, no surprise. If Meegan wins, then I'll win me some money. So I'm going to go with Nunes winning it. But hey, I'll be more than happy to be wrong on this one, especially with those odds.
So you go Nunez, right?
Yeah.
This is the safest pick on this card. A lot of people talk about it. This is safe. Amanda Nunez, come on, look at the odds. But who plays it safe, man? Go for that bet and get crazy. I'm going to say Meegan Anderson takes out Amanda Nunez.
You know what? Let's do it. We're putting money on this. I'm going to say Meegan too.
Meegan Anderson. I'm going to ride with her. She's going to beat Amanda. Guys, put $50 on Meegan Anderson for a finish. Look for it. She's a big girl. She's been training with James Cross. She might have something there. So I'm gonna go.
And like I mentioned, smaller cage.
Smaller cage.
Right? Smaller cage. Longer reach, and it's possible.
It's gonna matter. All right, main event: Jan Błachowicz and Israel Adesanya. Who you got?
This one is really, really difficult. This is probably the most difficult pick because, like I touted earlier, and I can't tout. I can go days talking about Israel Adesanya. But you know what? Jan Błachowicz has been the underdog in his last 12 fights. He's going to be the underdog on this one.
Yep.
Or his last 11 fights. He's going to be the underdog for the 12th time. I think a smaller cage and a mighty fist at the right time might just go ahead and finally end Adesanya's streak. It's not likely it's going to happen, but that's who I'm picking. Last time I picked Jan Błachowicz against Dominic Reyes. I felt really good about that win because, you know what, like I said, he's got that Polish power, and that's no disrespect to Israel Adesanya. I wholeheartedly believe that Israel Adesanya can easily win this fight. But I just feel that, once again, Jan is overlooked, and that's when he's going to come out and surprise everybody.
All right. Błachowicz again beating Adesanya, undefeated. I'm going to say underdog, K9 dog, whatever dog, my dog, your dog, all these dogs. Ain't no
Lakers in 7.
Ain't no big enough of a dog to beat Israel Adesanya. Speed and accuracy is going to matter here. I think Israel Adesanya would do it pretty easily. A lot of people are going to say, Jan was never good enough. Jan is very good. We respect him. I think he's a great fighter. But I am going to ride with the last style bender. He is focused. He is ready. He is prime. Israel Adesanya, I think he wins by TKO, not by KO, because I don't think Jan has ever been completely KO'd. So TKO, hard guy to knock out. You're going up in weight. It's going to be different. So I'm going to go with Israel Adesanya for sure.
Let me ask you, Izzy hasn't really been talking so much shit on this one, right?
Not at all. He has no reason to talk because Jan and him they're good. You know, there's no reason for them to talk shit back and forth. So I kind of like that, honestly. It's more.
I was gonna say it's been refreshing because, you know, like I get this whole, you know, thing that Izzy is, that he says, you know, he doesn't like bullies and everything like that. But I almost kind of feel like, dude, like you gotta kind of like, you know, check yourself in the sense that like you have to be careful that you don't become the bully, right? Yeah. And so it's actually been really refreshing to see him, you know, kind of calmer in this sense. I mean, I figured they didn't have any beef, and there's no reason to, you know, get into beef just for the fuck of it. I mean, people are going to tune in for this fight, even if they were both mute. But yeah, it's been a nice change of pace.
Yeah, Jan's definitely going to switch something up for sure in this fight. I'm sure they have a great game plan, as they have in their last couple of fights. What they're doing with him, love to see that. It's going to be a good card on Saturday, guys. Do not miss it. UFC 259. It's going to be one of the best cards of the year. Make up for last Saturday's card. The prelims are going to be excellent. The main card is going to be good. Put a little bit of money on Meegan Anderson if you're feeling crazy, because those odds are wild. We will be back next week. Not sure what day, but we will be back, of course, to talk about the results of this card and what is to happen going forward. We, of course, appreciate you guys for being here, watching us. I see the comments on the side, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you. Me, Nick, we'll be back next week. Nick, anything you got to say to the people?
Pick up your merch, people.
Yeah, baby, come in. I love that. We are out of here, guys. Boom!